Know the Ledge Radio welcomes back Dr. Phil Valentine for a poignant prognosis of a pending plan to depopulate melanated communities via food, water, vaccinations, self-destructive ignorance, misplaced trust, gullibility, and crippling complacency. As news arrives that the global population is tipping the scale at 7 billion people, listen as Dr. Valentine exposes the well-greased, well-planned, and well-funded eugenics plan to trim these numbers down considerably. Remember, he who sets the parameters of your thoughts controls your mind. So join us for a concerted effort to give you the tools necessary to become the masters of your own universe, while laying out in plain sight what the elite have in mind for the mindless sheep. Dr. Valentine will be delivering a visual webinar on October 23rd, deciphering the threat of vaccinations and other components of the eugenics program currently underway. Tonight, the conversation begins. So with no further ado, caller calling in from 64622. Peace.
Peace, Hotep family, Hotep.
Hotep, peace.
Hey, we are in the building. I wish I had some fireworks. Hold on. Welcome back to Know the Ledge Radio, family. This is the NeuroChemical Assault on Consciousness featuring the one and only Dr. Phil Valentine. Peace.
Peace. Peace. Hotep to the family. I can't begin to tell everyone where we are at this particular stage. This thing has been creeping up very, very quietly, very, very slowly on us. Our minds have been focused on Elenin. It's been focused on the polar shift. It's been focused on all these other things, all these other distractions. And we don't know and we don't see that the actual killing machine is very, very subtly creeped into our reality and has become a part of us, has become a part of our everyday conversation. Of course, people in the conscious community, we know what we have been up against, and we have been working against and have been working very hard to bring this kind of information to our brothers and sisters, to allow them at least to have an educated choice, to make an educated decision when it comes to the minds and the bodies of their children in the future generation. So we are speaking on an urgent tip. You know that every time I come forward, I'm not coming forward to entertain or to entertain even, but at least to alert, to give people something to think about, some kind of conscious meal for their minds to digest. And I'm so glad that you brothers are there and you're available and you're working the circuitries, you're working the frequencies to be able to put this kind of information out. I wanted to hopefully give to the people, give to the brothers, give to the sisters a sense of just how dangerous these times have become. And I'm not trying to hype anything for anybody to give me any kind of attention. I don't need that kind of attention. What it is that I need brothers and sisters to pay attention to the kinds of things that are surreptitiously and very subtly creeping into their foods. We don't pay attention to our foods anymore. We don't pay attention to the water. We don't pay attention to the clothing that we wear. Everything now is seeded to kill. I know it's very difficult. I know we're thinking that we're taking it over the top, but in this day and age, there's no conversation that's over the top. There are no subjects anymore that's over the top. Back maybe 5 or 10 years ago, this may have sounded like it's over the top, but there is nothing at this point that is over the top. There's nothing that we will speak about in reference to what you eat that's over the top. There's no more conspiracy. The conspiracy has already been revealed. It's no more a conjecture. Mm-hmm. We are dealing with an upfront enemy now. All these years that the brothers in the community has been busy decloaking what this beast has been about behind the scenes, pulling the curtains away from the wizard as he's playing his games behind the curtain, making sure that the people see that all of the front and flam that we are being distracted by, we have to know where to place that attention. And so on Sunday, this Sunday at 6 o'clock, we are asking everyone to come in. Matter of fact, we've made it very, very, very affordable to come and participate in this. I purposefully made it very affordable for people to come in to look at this particular presentation because of what it's going to tell. It's not just going to speak about vaccinations. As Good Brother said, it has and will include all of the vectors that are presently being used to attack and to undermine the mind of the population, to put us to sleep, but then, it's something you don't even think about, but to slaughter the population. There are people that actually have brought to bear that are now in open conversation, people with letters behind their names, educated people, people that we trust, people that we think because they have these letters know better. But these people are openly having conversations about genocide, about killing off thousands upon thousands of billions of people. I'm talking, they want to kill at least 3 to 4 billion people. Now, we're looking at that as just a figure, but just imagine that amount of people being murdered, essentially, iatrogenically through doctors, through wars, through the murder of Gaddafi and these people who want to consolidate, because Gaddafi wanted to consolidate Africa. He wanted to use his resources to give it back to the African peoples. He was a threat, definitely. And you have on the other side now Kofi Annan, who was once the head or the Assembly General over there at the United Nations. He's now bringing in GMOs and bringing in all kinds of Monsanto agents and everything into Ghana and into South Africa and all these places, and they're growing these GMO corns and GMO different types of vegetables, and this is what they're giving to the African peoples. They want to depopulate Africa. They want to depopulate South America. They want to depopulate China. China now is saying, you must be out your mind. We already started our depopulation process. You're not going to depopulate us any further. But nobody is speaking about the fact that they're going to depopulate Europeans too.
Of course.
They don't believe that they have already a plan. And so they see only 500 million people with about another 10,000 people running the planet, and 500 million people, they're slaves. Technology will take care of everything else. Technology will make sure that there's just enough humans for them to enjoy, just enough resources for them to enjoy, because the technology now they have is way beyond. Remember, I said this many times. The technology we're being given is at least 30 to 75 years behind the technology that they already have. So all the things you think you got with your iPod and you're thinking you're getting all this beautiful technology, those are toys now compared to what they have. So human has now been relegated to a non-essential entity in the future time, in the paradigm that they've structured for themselves. They no longer need slaves to play the cotton field. They already have the cotton, and they already converted the cotton and made it into whatever it is they need right now. They have the machines that can do that. They have the artificial intelligence that can do that. So yes. Most people don't understand that we are now refuse. We are the useless eaters and the useless breeders. You have to get that in your mind. You have to know that that's what it is that they're thinking about you. All behind those smiles and all that benevolent BS, they are essentially clocking how many of you that they are going to be taking out. Now, is everybody ready? No, we're not, because it's going to come in such a way that you're not even going to know it. Look at how many people are going into comas. Look at how many people are being stricken with specific types of ischemic strokes. Children, all kinds of people are having heart attacks. Young people of 15, 21 having heart attacks. This is not an accident, family. This is happening as a result of the plotting of the culling of the human race.
Indeed.
if the brothers and sisters would like to see or would like to go up to come in to register, they can go up on YouTube right now if you want to, brother. And we have a promo going. All they have to do in the YouTube, the search box, is put in vaccination and then put in the words paradigm of the poison needle. Paradigm of the poison needle. And underneath the promo, a little short promo there is a link that puts you directly into the PayPal for you to register. But again, go up to YouTube, put in paradigm of the poison needle, and then they will find and they will see there the promo.
Yeah, brother, that commercial, that YouTube commercial, the paradigm for the poison needle, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Whoever put that together, I definitely want to tip my fez to that brother because he put his foot in that.
Yeah, and
I'm going to go ahead and...
Yeah, let me just quickly give a shout-out to that good brother because I want to let the brothers know that, he's available. The brother's name is Junior Coggins, JC we call him. Junior Coggins. He's the one who designed or put together, he didn't design it, I gave him the design, and he's the one who finished off and put together the logos for our school, the cover for my book, The Wounded Womb. The last for The Wounded Womb, where I did the ones with the wounded well. And he did this one as well. And he's doing it with technologies on the fly. He's not even got all of his equipment because he had to move. He was on his move from Baltimore back to either Jersey or New York. But he put that together for me, and the brother is a genius. He's a master. If you're talking about art, he won, I believe, the Amateur Filmmakers Award in New York City 2 years in a row.
Okay.
So you all need to get with this brother Junior if you want. When the time comes, off mic, I'll give you his number. And the brother is a beautiful soul. You definitely want to work with you all. If you have some projects that you want to do, you definitely can throw him some coin. Brother can always use it. Everybody can use a little coin. If you can get some projects, the brother has some definite skills.
Indeed. I'm highly impressed. So I definitely will be reaching out to the brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and before we continue, I want to localize the conversation, you know what I'm saying, because we're talking about a lot of things that the powers, or the quote-unquote, the proposed powers that be, have planned for the population, but amongst our circle, amongst our family, I've noticed that a lot of elders have been falling ill. I got a text earlier this week about the brother Clemson Brown. He had an aneurysm, but he's home now with the family. Brother Curtis Course, who has been putting out a lot of information about vaccinations, he also is in dire straits. Then I got an email from you about Sister Myra and her situation, and there are a host of others as well, a host of other elders. What are we doing as a quote-unquote community, collective, a family, a connected consciousness? What can we do to make sure that our elders do not end up in these particular dire straits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. The thing is that I wanted to have a meeting with all our elders so that I could, I'm not perfect. I've gone through my changes. I've just gotten too comfortable. I don't get sick, but I've gotten a little too comfortable. I'm not in New York. New York keeps you slim. If you're keeping your work and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you got to run in New York. New York keeps you going, up and down subways, running the streets, doing all that. Down here where I am, it's retirement. It's chill, boy. It's warm. It's beautiful. The sun is shining constantly. You don't want to do anything. So you got to really work to feel like you want to do anything. And where we are now, we're working very hard. We don't have our home yet. We're working on that. But where we are now and where we're staying, it's an absolute beautiful paradise. And we give thanks to the Creator and to our ancestors for guiding us to this place so we can actually comfortably do the work. So it's given us a chance to be able to recoup, to get our life energies back, to meditate the way we want to. We have the trees, the waters, and everything to do that, and we're very fortunate And I want that for the rest of our brothers and sisters who are out there doing this kind of work, because there's a certain point where you got to pull away. Because if you do not pull away from it, just like you get battle fatigue, this is a battle, and you will get battle, and your body will show that. So I recommend to a lot of our younger brothers, when the time comes, just pull off the line, go in there and get some R&R, and then plot and plan where you want, hug your children, stay with them a while, put on a little weight, and then work to take it off. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be some point where you've got to step off the wall for a moment, to collect yourself, to see the field, to reconnoiter the enemy. Otherwise, you just be fighting, and you find out that you'll be hitting and swinging, and you may want to end up hitting one of your friends that's next to you doing the battle. You're wondering, wait a minute, whoa, I didn't mean to hit you. Well, that's what happens. You see,
you might hit yourself.
Yeah, and you definitely self-inflict. You find it again. Brothers and sisters, they ended up, most of the brothers and elders who are going in and falling down on the line is self-inflicted wounds. And I don't mean self-inflicted. It's actually exhaustion. It's the kind of work that it takes to survive and then try to teach and then try to work with brothers and sisters. They know what it takes to counter the kind of resources that they're putting out there to do what they're doing. We don't know what it takes to do what it is we do, because we do it because we have to do it. But then there's a point where we got to see that this also, being a war, is a job. And you got to look at it as a job, not as a job so you can make money, but as a career, as a working force, as a calling, as a duty to do what you have to do to counter all forms of attacks that are coming at us, and to reconnoiter it, to scan it, to scope it, to scout it, and then to come back with the right information to make sure that your people are well informed about how the next maneuver is coming down. And this is what we do with our monthly webinars, is to make people more alert, not just to entertain, not just to get information, but to do proactive work, to be proactive with the information. Because if you're not proactive with the information, then you ain't nothing but a junkie, and you're just on your fix, month to month.
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier, about the need to be observers rather than be reactionaries when mainstream media and the other players in the theaters out there, throw stuff out there for us to basically react to. And especially nowadays in this field of social networks and the internet, where every response and every reaction is being cataloged and data mined and actually, used through DARPA to, in these virtual worlds that they've created. They've actually created these virtual realities where they could, it's almost like precogs, where they could almost predict the future as a result of the way that we utilize the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, they've already got that kind of technology working, where the amount of clicks you make on yours and the amount of clicks on the person next to you, next door, makes on theirs, they're actually crunching that data through CERN, and CERN is giving them probability indexes of the next thinking pattern. And so, yeah, we have people that are actually creating alternative consciousness. And we spoke about this. How many times we spoke about the fact that a computer has a soul, and any energy that essentially is mapped or put together so that it has a constructed form of consciousness will, by its own design, give off energies based on consciousness, and therefore have a kind of soul, a kind of artificial kind of soul. And we have now got billions of computers that have the ability to think for us. You see sometimes when you go into a thing and you put in one letter and all of a sudden a specific thing comes up because you've done it so many times. So it's plotted your probabilities and given you your own choice, and then you choose from it and you go to the next thing. Well, these things are becoming more conscious. The more conscious you become and the more consciousness you put into your computer, the more conscious it's going to be giving back and reflecting into its own soul energy. So
yes,
that's
indeed.
what we are creating our own demise by giving that consciousness over to something that will attain consciousness at some point.
Skynet. It will definitely, in the Terminator movie, it was called Skynet. And the computer woke up, it gained consciousness of itself, and as a result, that's when the whole thing, basically fell apart. The new phone, the new iPhone 4S, has a new feature called Siri, S-I-R-I. It's Iris backwards. It's Iris backwards. It's Siri, S-I-R-I, and it's the new personal assistant on your iPhone. If anybody in the chat has the iPhone 4S, just drop in the chat room if you have it and you've been using Siri. Now, this is a new form of artificial intelligence. It reminds you, it's your personal secretary. It will flirt with you if you flirt with it. It says that it doesn't have love. Like, it'll say, like, if you ask it to marry you, she'll say, well, love is not part of my program. Let's get back to business. Because
it's interesting that you're saying that, because these are the toys that they're showing you based upon where they already are. You have to remember that they have to give children kindergarten toys in order to deal with the kindergarten levels that they want you on. They're bringing the population along where they already are. Artificial intelligence and transgenic species already exist. And that artificial intelligence has already been placed into computers. I'm talking about working genetic material that the computers are using to think and to learn and to teach itself. That's already been there. That's been out for about 25, 30 years. They've had self-teaching computers. Remember, what they give to the population is essentially what they're using in order to do the kind of research that gives them that edge over a 75-year period of time. The toys that they throw at us are the stuff that they don't use anymore. They've actually declassified these kinds of materials. 25 years ago, you would never have found anyone giving you a computer in your hand with that capability. But 25 years hence, imagine what they know to be able to get that into your hands.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So don't think that these people are at the same level of technological proficiency because you think you have an iPad in your hand that talks to you, and brothers and sisters, you think there's a couple of things that's winking at you when you look at the screen, or you may be able to do your smartphone and then a GPS anywhere, and it'll take you and tell you, no, stop here, go back. Well, you got to remember that these things are probably the next 25 years, you'll be sitting next to something like in, what was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he went to Mars?
Total Recall.
Total Recall, when the cab is talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
Do that kind of thing? Yeah. It's already here in their world.
Oh, yeah. That's coming sooner than 25 years. That's around the corner.
I'm talking about one that walks up to you and you won't know the difference between whether or not it's there. And they've already started fusing the cyber soldiers. They've already been experimenting with cyber soldiers. In fact, over there when they went after Gaddafi and when they went after in Pakistan, because they have to really wipe out the population of Pakistan. India is the next population they're going to go after, especially southern India, where all the rich land and all the oil is down there. They're going to be doing a hell of a lot of genocide on the Dalits. I'm talking about the original Kush Dravidian peoples that were shoved into the south with the invasion of the so-called Aryans. They're going after them and their land, and there'll be a lot of very quiet genocide and population culling going on in southern parts of India as well. And they're starting it up in Pakistan and in different areas. India, they've been giving that corn to the Indians over there. And now, because the Indians were not going to attack Pakistan and to do what the United States did, Rockefeller and the rest of those parasites held off on giving them their corn so that they couldn't grow it. Remember, they can't grow their own food anymore because Monsanto 5 or 6 years ago started giving them their corn and their vegetables. And so now when they said, no, we won't give it to you, the people don't have anything to grow because the stuff that they have are terminators. All the food that they've been feeding the people over there in India at this point, those poor people and the farmers over there have been Monsanto. So they're now going to control the food so they can control the population and control the governments of the world. This is not a fiction. They give it to you in movies to prepare you, but this is real now. And don't think that you're going into the popcorn when you're going to your movies and you want to buy your popcorn. All of it, all that popcorn you see them popping is GMO.
Indeed.
Why would it be?
Yeah, right? Why wouldn't it be?
They're eating the plastic with the popcorn, then they're eating the plastic with the butter, and then they're introducing the sodium into the system and putting them in an induced state, you know what I'm saying, once they get to the theater, and they just going to work.
Exactly. And the corn chips that they get, I forgot what those things that you got, the butter, with the cheese, I forgot what those are, nachos?
Yeah, that nacho cheese.
No, it ain't natural cheese. It's pure
No,
whipped oil.
that's not cheese.
No, it's not. It's pure whipped oil, and the little chips, that's the GMO. Now, the GMO that they have, that they've been putting into this Mexican, as well as these other corns that they've been having, has insect parts. I'm talking about they've put firefly genes into the corn.
Wow. Firefly genes?
Firefly genes, moth genes into the apples.
Wow.
Okay? So now, taking it back to a deep metaphysical space, you begin to say, okay, well, then the progenitors, the Nephilim and the rest of them, they are dealing with us as humans, and we are supposed to be repositories of over 85 species from around the galaxy. They're saying that most of the information that we have in our genetics match all the life on this planet. But again, none of us are from this planet. All of us are extraterrestrials because essentially the light forces that we absorb, all the nutrition we get from the light, from all of what we breathe, all of the space melanin and all the what they call the cosmids, plasmids, and fullerenes that are actually nothing more than melanin that is floating in outer space that comes into our sphere of influence. We are constantly breathing extraterrestrial material because that's who we are.
Yes, we are.
We are extraterrestrials, our own self. So that being what? It means that essentially they know that all life on this planet is somehow intermixed with the human strain. So they're saying that anyway, if everything on life, all life on this planet ain't nothing but a big gumbo soup, it's time for me to make my own recipe. So they're going to take a look at genes. All this transgenic is them taking that Yakub formula and creating what they wanted. They're saying, remember I said in one of my lectures, and especially in my book, The Wounded Womb, I spoke about they're having these transgenic clubs that Rockefeller and Rothschild, all of them, see themselves as transhumans. And the transhumans see themselves evolving only through technology, that the human strain has stopped evolving. It isn't that we've stopped evolving as humans, it's that they've stopped evolving as non-humans.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. I touched on that on last Sunday in Florida at my lecture. The transhumanism movement, also known as H+. That's the logo for it. These Europeans, as a result of the prediction that they will be extinct in the next upcoming decades, they have now decided to utilize technology and in a sort of a cyborg transhumanism movement. You know what I'm saying? It's a philosophy right now, on paper, but it's actually, like you said, that there's actual clubs. There are, there are all kind of
symposiums. I remember when the brother Michael Jackson made Ascension, Quincy Jones was approached by CNN to make a comment, and they was asking him whether he was going to be attending the memorial service, and he had some very harsh words for Michael, you know what I'm saying, based on their relationship, and he basically was shitting on him. But he was like, look, I'm headed to Europe, to this conference dealing with extending my life to 150 years. You know what I'm saying? He's like, that's what I'm focused on. You know what I mean? Getting in the circle with these people that have this technology that's going to be extending my life with these pills. He's like, I ain't thinking Mike's dead. He's like, Mike wouldn't listen. You know what I'm saying? So he just dumped on his protege and kept it moving. So, people such that was so instrumental in formulating the minds of the masses, and people such as himself, as well as Bill Gates and things of this nature, that the rest of the artist world, your rappers, your artists, your singers, they look up to these individuals. These are their idols. You know what I mean? So it's not hard to see why these transhumanism ideals are being filtered into the music, into the videos and things of that nature, with Rihanna kissing the robots and, all of these other things popping up in quote-unquote popular culture that are just making it so much more acceptable. This last movie came out where they had the boxing robot.
Yes. Yeah.
Real Deal, that was called.
Yeah. Real Deal. Real Steel or Real something.
Yeah. But the whole emphasis about real.
It's about being real. That's the thing. You see the difference. Again, remember we spoke about this back in 2000 at the Gathering of the Masters, that the European had reached a point where his consciousness could not lock into the escape hatch, or to at least unlock the next threshold for the human development, for human evolution, in consciousness, that is. Not realizing that his lack of being able to get into or tap into the cosmic mainframe so that he could get the download necessary for him to spiritually transcend, to change his DNA, to self-braid his DNA into the necessary forms that the helix must take to activate the so-called junk DNA so that it becomes the self-braiding, or at least to braid itself into the 22 strands that the original man had. And we have that capability. They found that capability in the Sudanian brothers and sisters when they went there with the Human Genome Project. They went and found 9 active strands of DNA in the Sudanese people, and right after that, the Sudanese people started catching hell. The problem is that the European is in charge now of steering the human population to its next destiny. The problem is that for him to survive, to do what it is that's necessary for the collective human, the original human strain to transcend, he would have to die. He would have to be absorbed or reabsorbed. He does not want to do that. He is a free radical. He is a radical, a human free radical gone off the deep ends. Now, he's thinking that he can terraform the planet in order for him to survive. Just like any other parasite or just like any other cancerous material, it must terraform the environment for it to survive. So in terraforming the environment, since he cannot terraform the environment into a natural circumstance in order for him to keep charge, to keep his strain, the aloof, notice that most of the people that are talking like this either will consolidate their power by getting people to support them as they have, because they're the ones that need to maintain the kind of earth or the kind of consciousness for them to survive. Now, this European, Gates, Warren Buffett, what's his name, Ted Turner, and all the rest of these these European billionaires and trillionaires, Rockefeller and all the rest of them, they want us to trust them that they know what's best for the planet over the next 25 to 100 years. Now, just going back on the history of what the hell they did with the planet for the last 100 years, and what is that we have suffered based upon their ideas of taking the planet into a direction. Notice now that everything is Earth first and the Earth is the mother. What are they doing? They're coming back and snatching African, indigenous, autochthonous, native peoples and trying to absorb that kind of consciousness into this technocratic, this technocracy they call their Western civilization. Not going to work, because everything will will oppose them. They cannot establish the kind of society they think that we need to have based on them being in charge, them motivating because they think they know what's going on. They think they have everything under control. They want us to trust that somehow Agenda 21, the new corn and the GMOs and everything that they're giving to us is somehow going to make the world a better place. But the European cannot make the world a better place. It is not in him to make the world a better place, because if he tried to do it the way it's supposed to, again, he would disappear. So you cannot trust anything he's doing. I don't care what he shows you, what it is he does on his television or movie screens to convince you that his heart is in the right place. His soul is displaced. His spirit is displaced, and therefore he cannot interface, period. He has to give the world back to the original Earth peoples who structured the consciousness that the planet was on before his rise. When he came in and began to learn and take over everything he studied, he knew the value of what he had because he became everything he conquered. Listen to what I'm saying to you, family. He did not bring anything to us that we did not already have. In fact, we made him who he is, and on top of that, when you try to feed a cancer, what does it become? A bigger cancer.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So we've given him spirituality. Nothing came out of Europe spiritual. Everything he's looking for now, everything he's searching for the solutions for our planet, he's going back to India. He's going back to Africa. He's going back to Native Americans. He's burning smoke and sage. He's beating drums. Hell.
Yep.
You see. So I'm saying to the family, there's a desperate surge right now. The European has created surplus humanity. How has he done that? In his technology, listen family very carefully, in his technology, he thought that he would create a way for everybody to be technologically interfaced and interlinked so that all of the resources and everything in the world runs like this smooth artificial machine that he thinks that he could have created, being that he is the manifest destiny of the planet. Whatever he thinks will be good for the planet. Now, with that, he has had to take resources from other people in order for him to live that dream. He's had to rape whole rainforests. He's had to genocide whole peoples. He's had to kill, maim, destroy, completely wipe out, and then build this pristine-looking glass, nice little pristine-looking civilization. But here's what happened. Every place he robbed for those natural materials, those places that he took their life structure and their order away from, those people no longer had their humanity. So therefore, they began turning into who he was. He began to export who he was, and we became who he was. Now what happens? When you take away a man or a woman's ability to know what to do, how to live, what do? You take away that creativity, they go back to their own personal creativity, which is to give and to give life. In other words, when you make someone poor, the only thing they have to actually express themselves is through sex. So you take away a man's balance, you take away his God, you take away his ability to feed his family, you take away his ability to feel like a human being, and immediately the natural instinct is to try to survive and to try to propagate the species because you're in a space where you have been created as a terminal creature. You have all these people starving to death. With people starving to death all over Biafra, Bangladesh, and in Africa, the population is gone wild. Now, wait a minute. How could starving people be procreating? Well, that's what happens. Nature will always do her best in times of crises to try to propagate life, to try to continue it. So the more poverty you try to push on a person, the more surplus people will be born in that poverty. So what does he do? He sees now that all of these people are being born, all these kids are being born, everybody is having babies all over the place, and they created it like that. In order to keep control, they had to destroy our family. They had to destroy cultures. They had to destroy gods. And in doing that, they destroyed the ecostructure, the spiritual, psycho-spiritual, and ecological ecostructure of the planet. And now it's hog-ass wild all around. So what do? Well, we got to clean up this mess, fam. Okay, you, Mr. Billionaires, you all come together. What we going to do about this mess? Because we're paying out more welfare. We're doing all this. They're taking more food from the thing. That's our food. That's our land they're living on. We got to wipe them out. We got to clean all this mess. We got our new technologies in place. With them out the way, we can have our paradise. Well, that's how they're thinking, family. You are surplus. All right? You have to be cleaned up because the last 100 years of industrialization has created this surplus population. We don't need them now. We have become more technologically efficient. We don't need to give them jobs. We don't need them anymore. The plantations, the crops, we don't need them anymore. So this is where we are right now, family. You better know it because they're going to come at... I'm sorry.
This is what we're seeing with the economic crises around the planet, by proxy, this whole we are the 99%. You know what I'm saying? I got into it with somebody up the block at Woodruff Park out here in Atlanta. I went and did an interview on Wednesday at quote unquote Occupy Atlanta, and I was like, take me to your leader, and he took me to this gay dude. And we began a dialogue, and I was like, well, how could you say that who's the 99%? Because I don't think that directly applies to me. Like, I don't think I'm part of your group, homeboy. And he was like, we're all oppressed. We're the 99% and the 1% population and all of that. I said, it looks like you trying to brand, you know what I mean? I'm like, it looks like you just trying to brand us, you know what I'm saying, against this little 1% that sent y'all out here. That kind of throws us all in a pot. Like, we don't got the same mission, homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really want to solve something, the occupiers of America should leave. Do that first. If you really want to solve something, occupier, then you're an occupier. Your people have occupied this land. I got the date. You know what I mean? Like, I have the time that y'all came and everything. You could leave. And then we could begin to fix this thing, and then we'll call you back when we're ready. He didn't. Yeah, that didn't go too well with with the occupiers out there in the park. So but everything that you're saying makes 100% of all the way to, like I said, when I stumbled upon that transhumanism thing, the brother Siddiqui Bukhari has been talking about it. Also, the brother Lennon Honor with the Borg agenda and whatnot. But you came with your information and put it in a better perspective as well to add on to what they've been building on, to say that this so-called elitist is similar to what we've seen when Hitler came forth with the Superman, when Hitler came forth with the eugenics experiments, and then they were on the left hand they were doing that, and on the right hand they were introducing technology and things of that nature to say that when civilization falls, we're going to breed ourselves to be this so-called superhuman race. So the new superhuman race movement is what you're going to find in the singularity and the transhumanism movement, where they're utilizing technology, stem cell research, the nanotechnology, the chips, and all of this other stuff. By proxy, all of the technology that we're playing with these social networks, the iPod, iPads, and all of this other stuff, and they're going to make it sexy now to be chipped up, you know what I mean, to have like a robotic, left hand and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? Or, how Beyonce, Rihanna, Drake, all of the popular people who have a lot of millions of people. They have appeal over millions of people. They're the ones pushing the technology. They're the ones that are popping up in videos, fornicating with robots, you know what I'm saying, or stepping out of robot suits like that. So if it does begin to appear, it's a status symbol now. Ooh, Bill Gates has a robotic eye. I want to be like him, and that way they'll begin to say, it's just like you said, they're using the computers because, the job market has fallen because computers have taken over. Like, when we drove to, when we went to Florida last weekend, we were driving through, and I was noticing, like, there's only 2 people in the toll booth now. Everything else is computerized. You know what I'm saying? If you got the Sun Pass, you flying, you don't got to deal with no people. The transit systems, you know what I'm saying? Everywhere is being replaced by technology. So the useless eaters are becoming even more so now useless.
Useless. But again, look at the book that I did back in 97, 96, The Wounded Womb. In there, we spoke about transgenics and transhumanism all the way back to the time when we were dealing with Gathering of the Masters. Of course, at that time, it was about Terminator, and the same thing with, what's her name, who did Matrix, the mother of the Matrix.
Yes, Sophia.
Sister Sophia Stewart. This is not new. It's becoming news now because it's now becoming apparent. But back then, it wasn't something that was apparent. It's more something that was sci-fi. And, of course, sci-fi was just a way of introducing what they want to tell you anyway, to get it into your psyche, to make it something that is not news, to give you enough
entertainment.
Exactly. Entertainment is the easiest way to teach somebody. That's how you do children. You entertain children to teach them. Well, essentially,
entertainment.
Exactly. Well, that's who we are. We're essentially children. We're commercialized children. We were raised in a commercialized setting. We are addicted to commercialized formula. So we are easy to teach in certain formats. Adults are just children that are taught in a different way. That's all. But we are teachable, and we are children in their eyes, and we are cattle and sheep, and they will lead us in accordance with what we know or what they know to be the stimulus that moves us. For you to move a cattle along, you need that prod. Well, some prods are about hanging a sweet little chocolate on a string and having you walk, or some prods are in a movie promo. That's a prod. That's a way of getting teaching you to come and to adapt. Again, what do we have? We have a circumstance where I've been getting a lot of calls from brothers and sisters who want vaccination exemptions, and a lot of brothers who are working in the hospitals that's saying that they have no shots, no jobs. I mean, it's coming now to the point where people are not given any choices, and because there's no reactions, and of course, who do you have? We told you about Obama. Now they're backing this other black dude, Herman. Yeah.
What's all of these names? It was John McCain.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Herman Cain.
Yeah.
They trying to say
where's Abel at?
I call him Nova.
And Nova Cain.
He is there to put you to. Now we found out that he's being backed by two Jews.
Of course.
Two billionaires, brothers, who've been backing. What is that movement where these whites are trying to, to go
Tea
back
Party.
to the Tea Party? They've been backing the Tea Party. So your boy Cain is from the Tea Party. That's why you see white people actually recommending Cain.
With him. Exactly.
Because they know that the only person, after you know that they always say once you go black, you can't go back.
Exactly.
Now you're talking about the black being the president. Ain't nobody gonna see nothing. Once they put somebody else in that after Obama, what Obama did to get the world to look at, now they say, okay, we're gonna field our own nigga. All right, so we get him up there. He's intelligent. He's saying black people need to stand up and or rise up on their own bootstraps and all this here old BS, which don't mean a damn thing. But white people like to hear that. White people feel comfortable when we don't have to blame them anymore. We don't have to tell them what they're about. Their dissonance, their cognitive dissonance will see past the black and say, okay, well, he's saying just the right things. I don't feel so guilty when I'm listening to him talk because there's the Negro that did it, and he's made money, and he's been good, and he's been treated. Why can't you be like him?
Yep. All you got to say around white people is, I use the American dream, and it worked for me, man. And they're like, I love this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they will definitely say everything is fine with him. He's a Negro.
That's their justification. Exactly.
He's a Negro I can befriend. And he's the one who says, well, I have black friends, and he'll be the one that I would call out. But again, we're getting off the point. The main thing is that over the next 10 to 25, we're going for 2020. I was telling you between 2012 and 2020 to 2025, that's going to be the time when policies in the United States are going to be directed towards extermination. And this is when they're going to move towards bringing the wars that they've been given to the East. They're going to be moving to bring the wars here. And they're going to do it in small skirmishes. They're going to get you ready, and you're going to be complacent. You're going to be, again, most of us are going to be spectators when the revolution or when the thing starts hitting the fan, because it's not going to be about black folks. They're going to use us to start to trigger off the madness, but you're going to be seeing white folks shooting back. They're going to come to a point where they're going to find that they're coming after their property. Remember, they have to take back the country. They have to take everything back. They have to clean out the Midwest so that the Agenda 21, which states that at least 3/4 of the United States continent, the continent of North America, has to be rewilded. They're now bringing back animals. They're going to be bringing back elephants. We spoke about the fact that they're going to be bringing back all kinds of exotic animals from around the world, stuff that they've been keeping in genetic stasis so that they can repopulate the United States with all these wild game.
Did you
every city?
Did you see the? Did you see the
footage in Ohio this week?
In Ohio this week, where they released 50 exotic animals. A white a Caucasian, I believe he had a private collection of the animals, correct, Blue?
Yes, indeed. He had an exotic farm with 51 animals. I believe they killed 44 of them. Or 49? Nah.
Yeah, they killed 49 and one got away. It was the monkey that got away.
I got a news article. They said they killed 44 and they sent the other 6 to
the zoo. Yeah,
and one of them got away. So they killed 44 and they sent the other ones out. Come on, baby.
Oh, okay. I know what those are. Those were experiments.
Yeah.
Those weren't any exotic animals. Those were experiments.
Yeah, they look bugged.
Those were transhuman experiments. That's why they killed them. Remember, about 10 years ago, one of the transhuman experiments got out the lab, and they had to hunt it down. They were calling it chupacabra.
I remember that.
Right.
Yep. I remember that.
They're coming out from all over. I mean, they've been transporting them in back of these trucks. And you have to know the rewilding of America is going to take place. I mean, they already got mastodons. They're going to bring back the mastodon. They got the genes already spliced with the elephant. They got the mastodons ready that they're going to definitely rewild, because the northern hemisphere around where they were in the Arctic regions and around those regions, they're already there. They already know what they're going to put up there. So know that this is going to be a deep 10 to 15 years, and young people coming up, they got to be prepared. Now, they're going to be definitely telling you that you have certain types of jobs are going to be definitely eliminated. Be now on the lookout for the elimination of whole sectors, because they're not going to be necessary anymore. Under Agenda 21, they have done an assessment of which jobs support the so-called global warming. They don't do global warming anymore. They call it climate change. They kind of slickly changed it from global warming because they done found out they were actually exposed. Somebody put them on blast, and they couldn't answer, so they changed it from global warming, your boy Gore, into climate change. Well, what the hell is climate change? Everything changes. Climate's always changing. So they're playing around with this extermination scenario so that they can maintain their agenda and their timetable. Remember, they got a timetable. And remember, again, we were speaking about the fact that some South American scientists, we talked about this years ago on one of our lectures, that we are not spinning around the earth, that we are actually being dragged behind it, and that we are now coming into a space where our ancestors came, and all of the planetary upheavals and all of the madness that we've been experiencing is based upon our Earth and our solar system now being dragged by the sun into this field of planetary entities and areas that once we pass through them, our ancestors wrote, there's a whole lot of change that happens. This is when supposed visitations from other worlds and great catastrophes, hitting all kinds of, being hit by all kinds of small medias, large medias, whatever. But a lot of Earth terminating or civilization terminating scenarios. And this is the time that we're going in over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. Now, what they're doing to go underground and prepare is to either keep us in check. In other words, there are people who know where they're going to be. The elite, like the Gates and everything, they got their tunnels down into the earth. They're already in contact with supposedly subterranean extraterrestrials or whatever, and they have all these cities underground. You have no idea how sophisticated they are, at least 110 to 150 miles in the earth. We already did something there with hyperdimensional warfare. We told you about that. They got drilling machines that can drill miles in a day. Mm-hmm. And subways, they have subway systems that run on, what's that technology that runs on the rails? No, not the electrical technologies. We're talking about the ones that, again, I'm having a brain freeze.
I know what you mean. Japan has it. It's it doesn't sit on top of the rail. It's magnetic.
Magnetic, exactly. And I know one of the family out there will definitely know what I'm talking about. But these things run at speeds of 150 to 200 miles an hour underground. And remember, who was telling us about that back in the days when we had him at the Gathering of the Masters was Al Bielek. And he was speaking about that 150 miles underneath the earth, that they had these trains that ran from continent to continent, even under the oceans, and that there were fresh water that has not surfaced, that the water that we see on the surface of the planet, the planet being porous, this water has sifted down into underground estuaries that they have found. I mean, they have whole lakes and oceans. In fact, there's a gigantic lake under the Great Pyramid.
Yes, I read about that.
Right, a gigantic lake, and the walls have carvings that our ancestors have put up there. I'm talking carvings of Anpu, carvings of Haru, carvings of Asa, and they're standing like 5 and 6 stories high, carved directly out of the cave walls. Mm. Okay, so we have no clue as to what the world really looks like, and the people who are now managing it have at least an understanding of what our ancestors were on this planet, who they were on this planet. We don't. You know, we have been knocked unconscious. Our genetic memory has been knocked unconscious, but it's slowly coming back. It's coming back, and it's coming back with a vengeance. And the further we get into this field of operation, this energy field that our planet and all of our solar system is going into, and in Rome, this is a quiet thing they didn't tell you, the Roman scientists said that they found concentrated levels of melanin in experiments that they were conducting in the atmosphere outside of Italy. They were conducting experiments in space, and they found that the melanin that was in space, they have now clocked it as these three terms: cosmids, plasmids, and fullerenes. Now, people listening to me who want to be scientific will say, that's got nothing to do with melanin. But it is. These are the dark matter, dark energy residuals that the Italian scientists have now put in. You go in there and put in the words cosmids, plasmids, and fullerenes, and you will see they will say it is cosmic melanin. And not only is it cosmic melanin, tangible, but it is conscious. They say that this is DNA that's conscious and that it is filtering into the planet. And that's where the intelligence index of the planet comes. It rises up. And this is why, this is the other reason for the peppering of the skies with the chemtrails. It is to prevent the access of the melanin that's coming in the form of cosmids, plasmids, and fullerenes that are supposed to saturate the environment and raise the consciousness index as well as the intelligence index of the planet.
Interesting. Definitely. When you mention consciousness rising up and coming back with a vengeance, I immediately had a vision of some of these crystal children that I'm having the pleasure of meeting, little 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds that, when you could just look into their eyes and just tell that these little, gods and goddesses are coming back with the information already intertwined in their DNA, right? Mm-hmm. So on the other hand, we're beginning to see the actual drive by the powers that be throughout these institutions to make sure that all of these children are vaccinated. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I went through a real tug of war over the last few months, getting my son in pre-K, like daycare. They were going ham. But as a result of some good paperwork, we were able to, bypass all of the requirements that that New York State is asking for the children to be vaccinated. So can you just give me a brief overview of what are some of the ingredients? Because I'm sure we have some parents on the line that may not know about some of the ingredients and some of the side effects that vaccinations are causing these children to have, and they may not know. They may feel powerless against the system. They may not know that there's remedies in place.
Well, there are remedies in place, and we are going to be giving those remedies this Sunday. The main thing that they have to know is that there are alternatives, and there are ways for them to protect themselves against this. There are still laws, like I said, that are hanging on by a thread that you can implement, that you can use to be able to keep yourself distant from what the so-called cattle and the thousand-headed ass, or the useless eaters and the sheeple, all of those different definitions they have for us. There are ways for you to sidestep that, and it's a little involved. It has to do with, of course, your affidavit, knowing the laws of the state, but also knowing how to stand on your square and knowing how to speak. In other words, your paperwork is one thing, but where are you coming from in your heart? Do you know how to articulate what it is you need to say to those people who only hear what it is they are taught to hear and what it is they are taught to say in response? You have to know how to stand on your paperwork. Paperwork doesn't mean anything unless you can definitely articulate what the paperwork means and give life to words. So we teach people here, and we've been doing it for the last 25 years. For 25 years, we started with a simple piece of paper, a heading, and we wrote a paper for them We wrote up an affidavit, and for 25 years since in New York, we've been giving paperwork out to people across the country. It's now become a little bit easier because a lot of brothers now and sisters who have organizations and have made themselves and have raised to become ministers and so forth can now write that paperwork. But you have to remember, back in those days, we didn't know what we were doing. We just knew whatever we had to do, it was wrong for us to get the vaccination, so we had to stay on our religious laurels and then work that into what we do as naturopaths. And so we bridged that gap, and we made a reputation for ourselves in New York, so much so that Sykes is the name of the woman over there at the Board of Education. You ask her about Reverend Valentine and that paperwork, and she'll probably swing out at you with something, because we've given her fever. We've won 3 times in court with our paperwork, one time with the representatives storming out of the courtroom, knocking over the chairs. So we have done this kind of work. We've been in there. We've been in the trenches, and we know what it's about. And we give, hats off to you, brothers and sisters, who have been out there pushing it and letting them know, let the people know that vaccinations are not a necessity and that they're essentially nothing more than genocidal seeds. They seed disease, they seed cancer, and they are for actually causing ischemic strokes, and therefore shutting down consciousness. They are for shutting down consciousness. Now, what do they have in them? Well, they have aluminum, okay? They have what they call formaldehyde. They have latex. I don't know to name a few of them. They have potassium donophosphate. They have all kinds of cytomegalovirus. They have MSG, or monosodium glutamate. They have washed sheep's blood. They have horse's urine. All of this is in what's in your vaccination, not only just bovine pus. So everything that's in the vaccinations, it's not what they're vaccinating you for, it's what they're vaccinating you with.
Exactly.
Our people. It's not what they're vaccinating you for, it's what they're vaccinating you with and what they want to seed. Vaccination seeds disease so that they can have customers for later on. That's why they want you so early, because they seed the disease, the dysfunction happens, and then you have to come to them consistently. There's natural immunity versus artificial immunity. The natural immunity, and we don't believe in immunity, but we use those words because they're familiar. Natural immunity is what the body learns when the baby goes through natural cleansing cycles, and the body definitely teaches itself how to defend itself. Unnatural or artificial immunity is when they give you these vaccinations and then force the body to have to do things unnaturally, so that when something happens to the body, when it is a natural cleansing reaction, the body does not know how to react to that, and therefore you have to go back to the doctor to continue the artificial processes that began your life stream. So artificially, you have to be artificially serviced by constantly getting flu shots, constantly getting these things, because your body was not given the chance to learn how to defend itself.
Red, you there?
Red dropped off.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I do get a lot of phone calls and inquiries from people around the country inquiring, as to how to go about getting the exemptions. So your suggestion to them is to tune in Sunday. Will you be laying all that information out for the family?
Yes, I will. I will give them and let them know that there are ways for them to do it. They can do it themselves. I have always told everyone that they can actually write their own letters. But guess what? When I told people that they could save their monies and write their own letters for themselves, it worked for a little while. But then, again, Sykes now changed and flipped the script, and she now said, okay, you can write your own. But then when they submit their own letters, then they get a letter back, the parents get a letter back that states, well, since you have now got this religion and you don't believe that they should be taking vaccinations, you have to fill out this form, or you have to answer these questions for us to see whether or not your religion is valid or your beliefs are valid. Well, right away they've stepped across the line because that's not their place to do. Why is that not the case? Well, it's not the case because they are not, first of all, theologians and experts in theology. Therefore, they do not have the so-called wherewithal or credentials to question you as to what your religion means or what faith you have and whether or not it's valid to receive a public service, which is what education is. Therefore, it's not a private service, it's public. So why is my private business necessary to know so I can receive a public service? That's the first thing that's wrong. The second thing that's wrong is that there is a law against inquisition. If they are questioning you on your faith and they're saying whether or not your faith is valid or not, that's the inquisition. So therefore, they are conducting inquisitions. There is no such thing as an inquisition here in the United States. Oh, not supposedly. So that's the second. That's the second thing that's wrong. They're conducting inquisitions by trying to ask you what your faith is and therefore judging whether or not your faith is worthy to receive a public service.
Yeah, they're out of line.
Big time.
So I inquire, is that why you've done the title, the Reverend Dr. Phil Valentine?
Exactly. This is Reverend came as a title of endearment, not a title of nobility. It became that when I began to speak and people say, go ahead, Rev. It was in my early days.
You're right.
They said, yeah, peace, Rev, teach, Rev, preach, Rev. Jack.
Jack.
So what happened, let me go ahead and make it official. So I went ahead and I joined up on this church, and I went up and I started my own church and made it, made the credentials, quote unquote, legitimate or legal. Right. So I have my reverend and my doctorate, as I got from my PhD doctorate that I wrote and that I got from the Life Science Institute under T.C. Fry before that was closed down. He suspiciously died, because after he put out that book called The Great AIDS Hoax, he went south, and he took the trip, the big trip.
Right.
So I got my doctorate from his institute, and of course they didn't want to give it because he had passed off, but I submitted my doctoral information, a huge thing, which is part of my doctoral is what I'm going to be putting into my book called Classical Naturopathy, and it's going to be called the Arcanum Hygienum is the subtitle, but it's going to have to do the definitive on metaphysical naturopathy.
Okay. Dr. Valentine, I have a two-part question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of it is, what happens when an organic people, right, carbon-based people, what happens when an organic people are governed by an inorganic construct such as mechanical time?
Well, we're dealing with a kind of mechanics. Everything is mechanical because everything has been put into a cycle and into a season. So we have to talk about different types of mechanics. What kind of mechanics are we talking about? Organic mechanics versus artificial or man-made mechanics. Man-made mechanics usually is a reflection of organic mechanics. It's usually a way to imitate that in order to have some kind of measure of control, a control of one's environment, a control of one's field of vision where people are, control of the food supply. Most of it has to do with a mechanism of some kind. Humanity, in creating certain things to make his or her world better, creates mechanisms all the time. How sophisticated those mechanisms become actually gauges the level of use that the physical body is want to follow. Let me explain. Mind over matter. If a man finds that he could move a heavy object by doing A, B, C, grabbing 10 and 20 people to move it, then that's one way of doing it. If in his ingenuity he has found that he can do something to that rock to move that boulder without having half the sweat, without 20 people, with maybe just 5 people, if he did this, then he does that. Well, each time man is doing something to regulate his environment and to simplify his activity or his work in that environment. The more he simplifies his needs in the environment through artificial means, the less human he becomes, the less in contact with whatever it is he is working with, the less he now has an interface with the true organic mechanics. Because the more he becomes reliant on that artificial type of technology, that artificial type of structure, the less he becomes relevant in it. Okay? And that's what's happening to us right now. We are dehumanizing ourselves because we are becoming so efficient at being inhuman. It's so efficient to be inhuman. Look at that, what I'm saying. It's very efficient. You can kill people very easily now, but have them nurture that mind, give that mind a sense of self, give that mind the ability to grow itself? No. That's like too much work. Okay? So they've streamlined consciousness in such a way that inhumanity is much easier to be than human. Of course, that's something that we as humans are fighting in order to maintain our humanity. We're countering that by being who we are. But you look at the movies every day, and I mean, the body counts in these action flicks.
Yeah.
You know, you don't care. You know, you say, oh, got that one. Oh, you got that one.
Yes.
So we are being conditioned to humanity. Yes, go ahead.
Glad that I found a trace of some humanity left in me, you know, when I found myself not even able to look at those Gaddafi pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't even allow myself to partake in that particular ritual, a global ritual that's taking place at this particular time. As you know what I'm saying, people, they threw it on the front page of the New York Daily News.
Of course. That's the place they want to give that. That's their horror show. That's their horror. That's their window into the horrible world they give you. And they've given you your enemy. They've given you your enemy based upon who they declare to be enemies.
Oh, absolutely.
Gaddafi has always been the enemy, but they don't understand what Gaddafi was doing behind the scenes. Those who killed him know what he was doing. Everybody is on the hit list. Syria is next, and next Iran. Know that there is a juggernaut afoot, and that when China begins to see that this is about them too, everything's going to break loose. Right now, all we're doing is
at this particular time, so they should be quite mindful that that's the agenda. You know, I did a two-part question. I want to get into another part of it so we could go into the 11:11 meditation. And when I was talking about that mechanical construct, you know, what I was referring in part to was the Gregorian calendar, a calendar system of which, you know, man has to participate in things like, quote, in the daylight saving times, you know, physically setting his clock back, you know what I'm saying, or dealing with dates that are not synchronized with moon cycles and things of that nature. So, so those things take and further away from humanity and make him more and more mechanical, because those are the things that he relies upon to set his time construct. And in this particular paradigm, you know, where people say time and space don't exist, things are governed by time and space.
Exactly.
You know, so my next question is that if man has the ability of adaptability, is it possible for a merger with cybergenetics if man becomes totally dependent on a mechanical interface?
Again, it's how man measures time. All things measure time by the design of their bodies. All things traverse time through space by putting on a specific outer covering that allows them to traverse distance, space-time, three-dimensionality, and so forth. intelligence or cosmic intelligence finds ways to mobilize itself within the third density construct. As far as consciousness is concerned, time and space, time as we know it is artificial because we see it only based upon the pulse that we have been given that keeps our heart and our bodies locked in to this gravitational field. We are gravitated to this planet based upon a specific pulse that has been aligned with our heartbeat. Our heartbeat essentially is the gravitational grounding pulse that keeps the body here gravitated to this field. And who we are and what we are is basically how we have measured or how our atomic and molecular agreement came together to perceive time. Time is an element. Most people have not yet come to that understanding about what time is. Time is the element of being. Without time, there is no being. So time being the element of being, time now is a real living thing. It is an entity. It is a membrane of the Most High. It is part of what the Most High is as it constructs or contracts upon itself to examine itself. When the Most High contracted upon itself, time was created. When the Most High is involved within itself in totality, there is no time. So it is that contraction from itself creates time. It creates the moment for it to do its self-examination. So time is an element, just like fire, air, water, and earth. Time is an element. For time to be able to place itself into all the different venues for its examination, space must also exist. So time is the active, which is the masculine. Space is the feminine, which is the materials necessary for time to be.
Okay, at this time, I want to acknowledge that it's time to go into our 11:11 meditation. And it's a perfect time for self-examination, family. So we're going to be taking this into ethers, and we will be returning shortly. Again, family, find yourself in a dark place with your back straight. Palms are up. Your index and your thumbs are touching, forming a pyramid. You're taking deep bowel breaths. Exhaling out of the mouth with your tongue locked to the roof of your mouth, where you can circumambulate that energy throughout your temple, and we are manifesting and meditating to the sounds of Om Mani Padme Om. 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 Peace.
Peace, peace.
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 All right. Yes, yes, indeed. Definitely powerful.
Very nice.
Blue, let's go to these lines.
Okay.
I know we got a lot of hands up.
I'm going to ask the family at this time if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I'm going to give the family a minute, to come back and get themselves together. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please press the number 1, and we will bring you online. Give me a second. I got to recalibrate y'all. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Yeah.
And, Doc, do you want to, at this time, reiterate the information for the family who wants to attend the webinar on Sunday?
Yes, please. Thank you. Those of you who are interested in this webinar and your friends, and especially those who have young children and are interested in not only knowing what the vaccines are about, vaccinations, the whole vaccination paradigm is about, as well as the food and the dealings with what we are going to be focusing in on, not just on food, but clothing, everything. Please go to UKSNOW. That's UKSNOW.org, and put your name. If you have not joined up in our web mail, if you've not become part of our email
list,
the email list, please go there and put your email there. As far as going online, go right up to PayPal and just put in Office at Chemetaphysics. Office at Chemetaphysics is the is the email account, but you can get to that email account by just going up on YouTube. I know it's a kind of a roundabout way, but if you go to YouTube, YouTube in the search box, just put vaccination. It's VACCINATION. Then paradigm of the poison needle. PARADIGM of the poison needle. And when that commercial comes up, the promo comes up, right there underneath the screen of the promo is the actual link into the PayPal for registration. And not only that, you can also, once you put your name and your email, you put your email into our email account there on the UKS, we will be sending out a constant contact flyer with a link that you can go directly to the PayPal from. We'll put you right into the PayPal account. So you put your name in, or go up to YouTube, put in Paradigm of the Poison Needle, and right under the box, right under the video piece, there will be a link. Just click the link and it'll put you right in there for registration. And remember, it's at 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. So after church and everything, you all go out there and eat and have a good
hallelujah.
Come back. All right.
No doubt. I'm gonna drop it in the chat as well, the YouTube link, so the family could just click on that live link and just have it in your open window. So when the show goes off, you could do your 1-2 thing.
Beautiful.
It's all gizzle. All right. Blue, are you recalibrated at this point? Have you come back into full form? Are you here with us? Are you following me?
I'm back in the building.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Family, again, I reiterate, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please press number 1 on your phones, and we will bring you into the convo, all right? In the meantime, in between times, I'm going to go to caller calling from 678-524. That's 678 caller. Peace.
Peace, Blue and Red. How are you?
Peace. How you doing?
Good. It's Halima. How you doing?
Halima. Peace to the goddess. I was just thinking about you today too.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, I know. The stars are aligned. I just want to give honors to what you guys are doing, and honors to Dr. Phil Valentine. I listened to the program, and, it just, you guys always come correct. So, I didn't expect anything less than what I've heard tonight. But I do have a question, and I'm not sure if it's totally off topic, but I wanted to know Dr. Valentine's opinion on ORH negative blood types. And and how does that, add up in the whole scheme of what's going on? Because I've been doing research on the blood type for like the past year, and as it stands, scientists, they still can't figure out where it came from, or, why only 7% of the population have it. It can't be cloned. It's a universal blood type. which means that they can give blood to all the other blood types, but they can't accept any blood from any other blood type. So I just wanted to know what was your thoughts on that topic, and how does it relate to what's going on today?
That's interesting. That'll take a while, but I'm going to capsule. That's interesting. My queen is that, and was born that way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that is, again, definitely an extraterrestrial.
Okay.
It definitely has to do with a time when our species was attempting a form of transcension that got stopped and halted. And a lot of the entities that were supposed to transfigure and transcend out did, and left a small part of that population here.
Okay.
Those are the ones that essentially switched, the Mayans and the ancient Olmecs. They had a lot of that. It's what they call the reptilian blood.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that these entities were a crossbreed of a mixture of the reptilian and human. It's very interesting. I'm doing something on that in my book, so I don't want to give too much out on it, because then it's going to be, giving away a lot of what it is that I'm trying to keep for the, just for the sake of putting it into context and making sure that all the information is there. But know that people with that kind of blood do not acclimate very well to cold climates. They don't do very well. They get cold very quickly and very easily. Mm-hmm. They have a proclivity, a very warm heart, though. They're very sensitive, extremely sensitive. Mm-hmm. And they can pick up, they can empathetically feel things. They have a tendency to drift into a world of their own because they have a lot of abilities with the mind. They can project empathy. Say, for instance, somebody that does not have that, they have a way to project empathy onto that person, and that person will feel empathy for whatever it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. That particular blood type, usually they have to get a transfusion at the beginning because there's nothing in place right now to support them. The climate, the environment, the psychic and spiritual energies is not there for them. And a lot of them die in birth because the mother host, did not give them the necessary, what I call eject gene. Because when they come out of the womb, they usually come out unfinished. They're supposed to stay in the womb another month or two, the full 12, not just 9.
Right. Can you reiterate, family, what blood type we're discussing as well? Because the chat kind of missed it.
O negative, or RH negative blood type. And another thing I found as well, I found 2 pieces of information. Well, one I knew already was the fact that, we looked at our babies as foreign if they have a positive, RH positive blood type, and we will create antibodies in our body that will, seek out to destroy the baby as if the fetus, as if, it's a foreign entity, like it would do a virus or, a disease or anything like that.
The eject gene I was talking about, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And also, I read an interesting article because I'm on a bunch of websites about it and everything, just trying to, find out more information. But I read one interesting article that said that blood type is supposed to be immune to what is supposed to be the HIV and AIDS gene, or the virus, because the way the blood, the way the article spread that even if the virus enters into the blood will isolate it, and develop, the antibiotics to kill it so it can't be passed on. And they did a study, scientists did a study of, they tested all, I guess, a group of people that had, supposed to have the HIV or AIDS, and they couldn't find anyone with that O negative blood type that carried that virus or the gene or anything. So I'm just finding a lot of bits. I have not come to a definite consensus of what really is going on. I'm still searching, and I'm just discovering a lot of things about it. I knew early on that that was my blood type with my first child, but I just took the Rogaine shot and just kept it moving. Didn't really think too much into it. So I started looking into my lineager, trying to see where I originated from, my DNA, where it originated from. So that's why this blood type came up, and it's so important. So I'm still searching. So
yeah, but again, remember, all blood vibrates on a harmonic.
Okay.
And that harmonic is not that harmonic, and I don't want to give too much away because essentially the part that you say sometimes in the child forming in the womb, the body wants to attack it. That's because the host is not supposed to be that's not your host. You're not supposed to be a host from that type of human entity. All other human entity is supposed to host your body or your blood type. Remember, blood is crystal, liquid crystal. Therefore, liquid crystal harmonizes and gives off a harmonic signature that's based upon light and sound. And what you calibrate in your consciousness, or what the ORH negative calibrates in consciousness, has to do with dimensional passage. It has to do with dimensional warping. It has to do with dimensional, remember the 90-degree angle that our ancestors said was necessary for you to switch into different dimensions? Well, the RH negative has the ability to do that in deep meditation. Okay, I'm giving too much of the book away.
Okay,
right?
I'll wait for the book to come out. I'll wait for the book to come out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, sis.
You're welcome.
Peace.
Peace, Halima.
Hey, I want to shift into caller calling in from the 413. That's the 413-325. 413 caller. Peace.
Hey, what's up, man? Peace, everybody. Peace,
Hey.
Phil.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. This last year of my life, or transformation, so to speak, has definitely been monumental, as the words of KT. You know what I'm saying? But one of the questions I had for Phil, basically everybody, how could I go about understanding numbers and letters and the magic within that, or the science within that, and going about everyday life and seeing signs and symbols and being surrounded by certain things, but my problem is not being able to decode these certain things. Like, I'm trying to see if you guys can point me in the right direction, so to speak.
No doubt.
Once you know that numbers are entities, they're living entities. They represent consciousness as it begins to calibrate through the agreements that the atomic structures make. In other words, number is based upon how atoms behave when they interface with one another to create a particular condition or circumstance. So all things, God, when they say God geometrizes, well, God geometrizes by creating specific vectors along which light begins to consolidate into an agreement. As light consolidates into an agreement, atoms, photons, phonons, and all different forms of particulates based in light and sound and in time and space begin to coagulate into agreements. And these agreements have different cycles, different spin orientations for the particles, and each one of these have living presences that take on a value of a number. So number cannot be looked at as an abstract something. That's the way the European thinks. Number is numbers are living things. So, for instance, 1 is not a number. 1 is the representation of unity. 2 is the first number. So when you see 2 as the first number, because it's actually a number, it can actually see itself. The 1 and the 1 can see itself and therefore know that it has duplicated itself, and therefore 2 becomes a number. 1 is not a number. So when you understand the living principle behind numbers, you begin to see that each one of them, the 3, has a personality. 3 is the first containment. That is the first containment for life. So all life comes into the first containment. Why? Because the pyramid is made out of 3 sides, which creates the first container. So therefore 3 represents the first value for the containment of a particular perception of self. So 3 becomes, that's why the pyramid is so important. The pyramid is so important because it's the first consolidated container wherein consciousness may have a value. Okay? So consciousness can examine itself. Consciousness can become consolidated and therefore have an isolated perception of itself. Therefore, the 3 becomes the consciousness of isolated perception. And then from there, from that consciousness and perception of 3, the 3 now having self-perception creates a foundation for its creation. And then 4 proceeds from that. 4 becomes the feminine principle through which the 3, which is the head of the penis, can then enter, invaginate, and activate. So you see, numbers are not abstract ways of giving, of predicting, numerals or quantity. Number is all quality. And understanding number is to understand how God's mind works in what we call third density or 3 space.
Well, I mean, you hit it right on the nose. It's a lot to soak in. And definitely going back to this video to listen to this, or the audio. And definitely appreciate that. And I had one more question. The second question was, being in the mind state that I am now, or just more or less making that transformation, how should I go about, or what's your thoughts on how I should go about, I guess you could say being creative, but just being able to survive and make money, because I guess the way I look at things now is like I don't agree with a lot of certain jobs and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Obviously I have an obligation to take care of mine and, continue to do stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to sound like, I don't know exactly what's going on because, like I said, I'm still learning. We all learning, but at the same time, should I just be more or less in my creative space and be in my creative mind and being able to, like you say, stand on your square and manifest certain things in this reality from different places or higher places, something like that? Or you understand what I'm asking, or not?
Yes, I do. I understand, and I understand exactly how you feel.
Okay.
You should think about, considering joining our university, because our young students go through this kind of investigation and analysis, self-analysis. The know thyself that our ancestors put over every temple is something that we live by, and we examine the deeper stuff on the molecular level, from the molecular level outward. But what you must ask yourself is, are you proceeding along the path of realization through the impetus of desperation? See, you have to see whether or not the place you want to arrive at is being fueled by desperation. If you're desperate because you feel that your family needs to eat and things of that nature, then desperation is not what you need. Desperation is going to force you into an act or action necessary.
Right.
Now,
well, let me say this. I ain't mean to cut you off, Doctor, but I wanted to make sure I say this, man. It's not like I didn't get into none of this out of desperation. It was more or less me just wanting to know, and just knowing that it was more than what I was taught and what I was, told through school and stuff like that. But like I said, no disrespect. I ain't mean to cut you off, but you can go ahead.
Well, I understand. What I'm saying is that there are things that drive us to want to achieve. Some of us have traumas in our lives that promote us forward to take certain paths. Now, if you're choosing or you're in your search, it's a good place to be in your search. But are you being driven by desperation? And I don't mean desperation in the sense that you got to go stick somebody up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what compels you to actually want this information. Is it something about self-fulfillment? Is it a place that makes you peaceful? A lot of brothers ask me, how can I find that peace? What can I do? And I'm saying that the desperation to find peace is not peace. You'll never find it in that state of mind. What you need to do and what you get to do, and I don't say you need to do because you don't need to do anything. What you get to do is to examine what is your motivation to do this. And if it is about discovery, self-discovery, then that should be a peaceful journey, a journey that does not have a timetable, that does not have a sense of desperation to get to a point where I got to know. Because right now, you have before you in your universe right now in your time. This is your time, you young people's time. You have computers that can download information that just keeps coming, endless information.
Right.
But it's not knowledge. There's a difference. Information is not knowledge. Okay? Knowledge comes from the digestion of information and the sifting through to see if that information that comes through to you is relevant to where you are on your path. Knowledge now comes wisdom after you've applied it. Now, you got thousands of bits of information that pours through your computer every day into your face and into your eyes. But what have you retained as knowledge for application that turns it to wisdom? You have to now make those choices. And it took a while for me because I read thousands of books, literally, before I found out that I had to stop reading in order to find out that I was the book. And that the book is all the books I'm reading, I'm trying to find the book within, and I am the book. And that's what the Book of the Earth is about. That's what my next book is about, the Book of the Earth. The Book of the Earth is you. This is who you are. Everything about what you're looking for has already found you. You've already got. Everything you search for, you already possess. The thing is that the search outside of ourselves is an illusion. I know it sounds eclectic. I know it sounds a little crazy and eclectic.
No, not even, man. Not even.
Every book you pick up that feels good in your hand, the title, the way that you look through it, you scan it, you see some words. Books already speak. You know what you want because the book calls you. It talks to you. Okay? That's because you already know what's in the book. It's just that the brain part, the new part of you, that new kind of cellular arrangement, don't remember it. But you're going back to refamiliarize yourself with knowledge that you already have. That's what study and examination is. It's refamiliarization of self. And that's what you need to do. And that's what you get to do. You become comfortable with the search for knowledge because it's a search for self. And what time you have all the time you want. The universe and everything that you're in it is endless. It's timeless. It is spaceless. It is enduring. It is eternal. It is infinite. If you come from that perspective, then if this shell was to drop dead tomorrow, it'll pick up someplace else with the same attitude.
Right.
Now, that's what I was meant by the desperation, because a lot of brothers want that knowledge. Man, I've got to have that knowledge. But that's the sense of desperation. You don't need that. It's a place that you have to arrive at from quiet. You have to be quiet. You have to be still from within to get the essence of what you're searching for, to find the value in searching for.
Perfect, man. Perfect. They hit it right on the nose. I had a feeling I was supposed to call in. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do nothing at all tonight. I got on here early. You know, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot, Phil, for real, man. I really respect what you're doing, and I know you hear that a lot, but I really respect what everybody doing as a collective. And that's going to be it, man. I appreciate the help.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace. Indeed. Let's go to the next caller, and that would be caller calling in from 786 caller 308 786. Peace. Caller from the 786.
Peace, you hear me?
Indeed, peace.
Peace, family. This is Fire Vibes.
Peace, Fire.
Peace. Thank you again. Pleasure. Appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, because I'm actually going through something right now with my child, that his mother said that he looks like he's getting mumps, and she's paranoid, and they're trying to make it seem like, the vaccine is the way to go so that he could be good, and she's actually scared, and, she's like near making that decision to do that.
Is she listening?
No, she's not, and I just asked her I just texted her right before I called, and that's why I'm telling you now. I'm communicating with you, and I just wanted some, just your opinion.
Well, what is the symptom of the child besides the bumps on the face? Is it all over the body?
Well, she didn't go into specific details and say if it was all over the body. She did say it was on his face, and she said that she had gave him some amoxicillin, and that was giving him like spasms too.
Why did she give him the amoxicillin?
Because she was advised, and I wasn't there. I wasn't there physically, and she didn't even tell me until after it happened.
How old is the child?
He's going to be 6 on the 25th of this month.
Okay. I need for you to call this number. Take this number down, 386. 456 9279. That's 9279. 386 456 9279. Okay. Now, what did the child feed? Is the child allergic to certain foods?
Not that I know of. He's never really been allergic to anything. He's always been fine.
Has he been vaccinated before?
No, he hasn't.
Okay. Is the child weak?
No.
The child
he's weak right now. Actually, right now, she's going to the hospital tomorrow too, and he's in Fort Lauderdale and I'm in Miami.
Is there a way for you to reach out to her?
Yeah, she knows that I'm listening right now, and I'm in touch with her right now. Like as soon as we get off the phone.
All right. Well, I can. If she's going to the hospital, what time is she going tomorrow?
Sometime like before noon or so, around noon.
All right. Well, I'll give her. Just have her give. I'll tell you what. Blue, red.
Yeah.
Is there for you to take his number? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
You have his number?
That's family right there.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you in contact with him tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. Best thing, I don't want to give this number, so I just want to make sure you give him this number off, Mike.
Yeah. Well, it's all good. I got him.
All right. Good enough.
It's all good. Fire, we got you.
Okay.
No doubt, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey. Peace.
All right. Peace, family.
Now, in a situation such as this, and I don't know if this is the totality of the situation, but a household, where either one of the parents, overstand things one way, and then, another parent looks at it another way based on whatever her friends are telling her or, popular culture is downloading to her, you know what I'm saying, or the fears that she has within or himself, how does one proceed in a family or household, for that matter, to split along those lines? You know what I mean? When the future's at stake, when it's the child, it's called into question.
Yeah, it's fear. And you have to understand that our sisters have been made to fear and mostly distrust. Again, you have to understand, it took at least 65 years over this period of time through Willie Lynch as well as through the feminist movement to make sure that our sisters distrusted us.